congrats, Flack's been given new life by Amazon.
Yes, it has.
Yes. So like, what is it that they saw in this show that just makes it a must watch for everyone?
I mean, I think what's unique about Flack is that we strike a very, very fine line, but important line between extraordinarily dark drama and very, very dark humor, but also that kind of slightly just soapy enough that the addictive factor kicks in and you just kind of need to know what happens next. And the characters are fascinating. The world that they live in is interesting, and it's not one that most people know that much about.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was actually my next thing, was just that addictiveness factor, because I started watching it, I wasn't sure, and then it kind of just sucks you in.
Yeah. Exactly. But that's the point. Right. I always feel like some of the best TV is that, you know, that has that just enough of the soap to make you want to be like, okay, but now I need to know more.
Exactly. Great. And then the first episode, your character has like the longest day ever, barely goes home. Has there ever been a time in your life where you've had like a wild 24 hours, or is this so opposite of you?
I mean, I was young and fun briefly, but very briefly. I've had long, you know, days into nights into, you know, things, but there usually were work things that weren't that, like, you know, that weren't worth writing home about.
Yeah, gotcha. I get you on that. And then also later in the season, Bradley Whitford guest stars. Just what was it like making that episode together? Just, and it's such a pivotal one for your character too.
I mean, Bradley Whitford is one of my all-time favorite actors or people in my industry in general. And it's just was on my bucket list kind of in general forever, or someone I would just love to work with. So when he said yes to that, I mean, we were all just so excited, and basically just being, if you've got it's a two-handed play, basically. And I just could not possibly have had a better dance partner. And also because that is an episode, not to give too much away, but where you see that she actually does have a line. And it looks like she doesn't, but ultimately there is a line in her morality, and he crosses it, you know? But also you see that, you know, because of how charming he is and how entertaining he is, you know, you kind of get sucked into the whole thing. And then, you know, it just gets very dark.
Exactly. Yeah, that was good.
And he was just joyous to work with. I mean, please more and thank you.
Yeah. And then also, you've always been on the other end of Publicity. And so did you already know everything sort of about the business, and how does this depiction compare to what you know about real life Publicity?
I mean, there's different kinds of publicity. I have a very long, serious career. I support my work. I work really hard. I'm not a party girl. I'm not you know what I mean? Like my brand of publicity and how I've interacted with that aspect of this world is completely different from the world that we see in Flack. However, obviously, I'm not blind. I have seen that, you know, people who live more of that kind of lifestyle. And there is a lot of truth in what we have on screen. And it just doesn't happen to be my truth.
Gotcha. And then also, your character struggles with deciding to have a baby. You have kids in real life. I just had a baby last year, so I can certainly
congrats.
Oh, thank you. I can sort of certainly react to that kind of mix of emotions. So how much can you relate or not relate to kind of like the weight of that decision, or was it completely different for you?
It's completely different. I mean, Robin is in such a state of psychological turmoil as far as, I mean, again, not to give too many things away, but she hasn't really decided if she's going to hang in there for the long term, like life-wise. She comes from a family with a lot of mental health issues. She is ripe with them herself, and she's kind of still figuring out where she even really feels about her own worthiness on the planet, let alone is she capable, or should she be bringing a child into the world? You know, like she's just at such a different stage in her life. Whereas, you know, I was married and 30 and a stepmom, and like it just doesn't even compare. Like, you know, but again, you know, it's of course it's a huge responsibility, and especially if you're not in a stage where your life, I mean, God, there's never a right time or a wrong time to have a baby, but like she's in a bit of a it's not a great time for her.
Right. And then, but now finding out you were having twins though, did that make you a little nervous?
I mean,
I can't even imagine. So
yes and no. I mean, you know, it's an abundance of good luck and an abundance of, you know, you want the thing and then you get twice the thing.
right.
And you know, I'm just really grateful.
And then you and Stephen married 10 years now, good milestone. What do you like? What works best in your relationship, and what do you remember most about your wedding day?
Oh God, what works best? We're really honest. We're each other's biggest supporters. We each have each other's back, like 100% no matter what. And we're a team, and we have been since day one. And I think ultimately, and he's my best friend. I know that sounds corny, but he is. And ultimately, you know, life chucks interesting things your way and hurdles and things. But if you like and you love someone and they make you laugh and they've got you, that's really special. And that's, you know, that's makes it all worth it, you know. As far as my wedding day, not to sound funny, but there were quite a few helicopters buzzing over us. I mean, nobody could hear the vows. So it was pretty intense.
Yeah, that's something I didn't have to worry about on my
we were literally in the middle of like the peak of True Blood being a thing, you know, of the zeitgeist, you know what I mean? So like, as far as PR, like if you were trying to like if Robin was constructing like a PR perfect storm for some client, like you couldn't have written it better for it being like the thing at the right time. And considering we're just kind of boring private people, it's kind of funny looking back on it. But at that moment, that's where we were in our careers and our lives. And we had all the weird bells and whistles that go with it.
Right. And then, so, I mean, well, speaking of True Blood, I know you just found out there was some reboot in the works or, you know, but if they actually asked you and Stephen to be in it, how much would you guys consider joining some sort of reboot of True Blood?
I mean, that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. If there was a way for any of our original True Blood family to come back together, I'm sure all of us would be in some way. I mean, and I'm not just talking cast, like our crew, like we spent like 8 years really in the trenches together. And I know the people that filmmaking and TV is glamorous and we're very privileged, but you should talk to some of the crew members. Those are long, brutal hours and very weird, like vampire hours. And our crew just really had our backs, and we were a tight family. I mean, the first couple of weeks into lockdown, like in March, we had a big reunion over Zoom, and there was like 75 of us, all from our various lockdowns. And years and years later, we still like those connections, you know. So if there was a chance to like get any of that sort of the magic of that back, God, we'd all be up for it in a heartbeat. I don't know anything about it. That's
yeah, these things always, they sort of just come together and you're like, oh, okay.
I mean, look, if it happens, I don't know. But Charlene Harris didn't even know about it. So who wrote the book? So.
Gotcha. And then one more question before I let you go. Another big thing you were a part of course, one of my faves, one of the biggest 90s movies, She's All That. What was your reaction to hearing about kind of like a reimagined reboot, He's All That? And would we see you make a cameo in that by chance?
I mean, I'm no disrespect, but like it wasn't as much of a big deal in my adolescence because I was in the film. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't sort of have that outside perspective of having watched it as a teenager and it being like a big part of my zeitgeist. So, and to me, I had such a small part in it that it wasn't my movie. You know what I mean? So, you know, I'll watch. I'm sure I'll watch eventually the He's All That or whatever it is. But yeah, it's kind of I don't really have that like same connection. I mean, I was on the show for like 2 weeks. I just moved from New Zealand to Los Angeles. I was settling into a new school. Like, you know what I mean? It was a job and I had fun, but it didn't. I don't have any like really big, strong feelings. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Right. Got
I mean, in the nicest possible way, you know?
Right, of course.